Good morning on the 1st of March, 2023. I can barely believe it. I got up about an hour ago and I've been searching through the scriptures. There's a phrase which stands out in my mind, and that is bitter waters, the land of bitter waters. And I can't find it in the Bible. Perhaps it was in the NIV version, but that was a phrase that stood out to me, the land of bitter waters. I was talking with a dear brother the other day, and I told him that I thought it was Isaiah, but I'm not sure right now. I've been looking through about 20 chapters of Isaiah. I haven't found it. It could be in another prophet or in another book altogether. The land of bitter waters. There's a place that's called the land of bitter waters in the Bible. And I told him that Isaiah was writing about the United States today, that we are the land of bitter waters. That is what they're doing to us in the North American continent. It's estimated there are somewhere between 100,000 to 300,000 new chemical compounds that have never been tested for safety. And of course, our illustrious, wonderful government is testing those for safety as we speak. You and I are the guinea pigs. We are the giant white rats upon which they are practicing this alchemy. So, much like they did with thalidomide in the 50s, they do with these other things, these other compounds, some of which they call medicines, and quite a few of them are just used for other purposes, supposedly. And the one that stands out probably the most has been used by Monsanto in different wars and different places and different forms, and that would be Agent Orange. And I believe that Roundup is only one molecule different from Agent Orange, and they've been using that on us along with a bunch of other poisons for quite a while. You see, you need to realize this and wake up to this, and the sooner you wake up to it, the better you're going to be. This government's not your friend. It's not even your government. This is the beast system that we have here in this country. This is what your inheritance is. So it is bitter. Very bitter. And it's going to get worse. The poisoning of the waters is done on purpose. They fed us with fluoride for decades, and they still do that. We haven't been able to stop them doing that yet. Yet, in every country in Europe, it has been illegal for more than 2 decades to fluoridate water. Why? Because they recognize it for the danger, for the damages that it causes. Even the Orient will not allow the fluoridation of water, and they're the ones that have done most of the testing on it, and what they discovered is that fluoridated water drops full-scale IQ by approximately 11 points. So talk about bitter waters and talk about downgrading your subjects. And we also know that it throws the whole metabolic system off. It throws off your thyroid. Instead of having 4 thyroid, I don't know if I can even remember this very well. I haven't talked about it in a long time. But there are basically 4 different thyroid molecules, hormones, T1, T2, T3, T4. It has to do with the level of electrons on the thing and how active it is. And that thyroid has to do with how active your body is and how well you metabolize things. The speed of your body, quite literally. And so what they do is they attack the gland here. They downgrade it because you're supposed to have iodine on your thyroid hormone. And instead, fluoride knocks it off and takes its place. So what ends up happening is a lot of you end up with double chins. And that's because of all the fluoride you've ingested. Some of it's in your food. Doesn't degrade, it just accumulates. It's in the environment big time. A lot of it's in the water. And so you get a double chin. And that double chin actually is around the alimentary canal. Okay, it's around where you take your food in, your esophagus. And it goes down in your chest cavity, and it swells up. It, what is the word? Inflammation. You get inflammation all the way up and down it, and it goes right past the heart and inflames that area too. So it is kind of a chemical weapon, and it's also kind of a biological weapon. And so it causes inflammation, it alters your chemistry quite a bit, and it can speed you up or slow you down. It can speed up your metabolism so you have a lot of energy, you burn a lot of energy, or it can slow you down and you can get sluggish. It can retard you. It can turn you into a retard. It can drop your IQ down. It can actually, if there's enough of it, can put you into a general stupor. It's the giant white rat poison. It's what was used to poison rats before World War II. And they brought it over here after World War II. Makes you wonder who won World War II, doesn't it? Who won that war? They brought over this stuff and did it to the American people after then. You need to understand, the evil ones rule over you. Whether you like it or not, they're in charge. And they have plans for you. Their plans are they're going to rule for the next 1,000 years. They're going to oppress the rest of us and rule for 1,000 years. And they're well on their way to doing it. The only other choice is for us to rise up and to establish a proper government, throw their yoke off, throw them out. And we're going to have to actually take them right down. You see, right now, they're doing one of their wonderful false flags. It starts off as a fake war. They manipulate all kinds of things, but people are woke right now. People are aware, I should say. You got to watch out for that word woke. It's been taken over. So they're pulling their same old game on the world right now, trying to get us into World War III, and we may already be there. They manipulate all sides, all parties on both sides of the conflict. So if you think they don't have their hooks into Putin, you're wrong. Putin's very much controlled. And if you think Biden is an independent president who thinks for himself and is in charge of things, well, wow. Maybe I should go up to that northern western corner of Arizona and go look at London Bridge and see if they got a for sale sign on it, huh? Or the Brooklyn Bridge. We're the land of bitter waters, and we have been found wanting by Yahweh. And so we're going to get it. At some point, I'm not going to be surprised to see the missiles and the explosions. I'm just not going to be surprised at all. Because it's actually written in the Bible. And the way I read the Bible, it's a possible future for us. I don't read it that is set in stone. But I need to tell you, the evil ones have taken over pretty much everything, including most Bible translators in the seminaries. And they have taken us over through our religion. They have us worshiping the devil and the devil's children. They put so many traps in that Bible, it's not funny. And there have been other men who approached me trying to tell me what their faith has taught them. And I wish I'd had another week up in Nome. Or rather, no, it was Barrow on the North Slope. A Mormon fellow, was trying to talk to me about what he knew. And I don't know if I trust that religion all that much, but I certainly would have liked to have heard from him a bit more. I got into some trouble up there. You see, I had a young girl who was 13 who was off in the city, and she was getting used by her uncle, and I was required by the law to turn that stuff in, and I did my job, and the troopers there in Barrow were upset with me because I didn't give them the evidence, the hard evidence they needed. And of course, that wasn't my job. I wasn't law enforcement. At that point, I was in charge of a children's facility. They had to have a place to take care of children and to take care of mothers because the propensity up there was to They were free spirits, and they would have children. And the one question you did not ask anybody up there was who their father was, because most of them didn't know who their fathers were. They were the whale hunters, by the way, and they're a different kind of stock. They really are. And I met some incredible people up there. I met a woman up there who was maybe 4'10", 4'9", 4'11", and she was an elder. She had, well, gray hair, white hair. I don't remember her very well, but I remember that she would talk to anybody who would listen. It was my turn, and I was thrilled to hear about her because the villagers bragged about her because she had killed a bear with her bare hands. Well, it turns out it was quite a story, and it was actually quite true. She was up on the ice, and a polar bear. You see, the polar bears will eat a man and a woman rather quickly, and when they are whale hunting, the smell of the blood from that huge mammal travels, and it draws the polar bears, and they have to shoot the polar bears or they'll encroach upon them and kill them. This woman was out in the dark on the ice, and she turned around, and a big polar bear was about ready to bite her, encroaching on her. Old man had his paws right above her and was ready to eat her, coming down on her. And her thought was, I'll be damned if I'm going to go easily, willingly. And she drew back her hand, her fist, and she punched the bear big polar bear, as hard as she could in the mouth. And the crazy thing is that she's wearing a muckluck, long glove up to the elbow, right? And when she pulled her fist back out of the bear's mouth, her muckluck became lodged in the bear's throat. She killed the bear. The bear choked to death. Believe me, she had a presence about her that I wouldn't want to tangle with her. It was wonderful to meet her and have her tell me her story. That was quite a while back. My God, what year was that? Well, I had just finished graduate school. So it was like 1994, 95. It was November 1994. The sun was setting, and we weren't going to see it for several months. And the whale hunters were out in their cruise, and they take that very seriously. And I had a lot of babies that were dying from SIDS, and I was under the wrong impressions at the time. We had a lot of fallacies to deal with, namely what it was caused by. And I don't think we understood at that time what it was caused by, but we had a few theories, and I was doing my best to prevent sudden infant death syndrome from these children. It was a nice facility. It was a beautiful new building. It was kind of a tough job for me because my boss interviewed me in Anchorage. Black woman. I liked her. I was looking forward to working for her. She was a really nice lady. And while we were flying on the jet between Anchorage and Fairbanks on the way up, she got word that her boss had passed away. And so she was no longer going to be my supervisor. She was going to be moved up and taking her boss's place. And they ended up putting this young white girl over me who was younger than I was. And I had the graduate degree. And she was out to get me and get rid of me because she regarded me as a threat. So that's what she did. She got rid of me because she didn't want to have she didn't want to lose her position because I outranked her and had a higher degree. And I was older than she was. And it was a pretty sad deal. It was sad for me because I didn't last but a week up there. And then I had this child, this 13-year-old. Her adult uncle had been having sex with her, and I was required by law to report that. And of course, the native norms were different than our norms. And it was not a pleasant scene for me. I did as I was required to do by law. And so I reported that. And the woman who was up above, she continued to be promoted different places, and it turned out that she was quite corrupt and corrupting older white female who, um, well, what can I say? She was counterculture. I mean, I don't like knocking anybody because of their sexual orientation. I certainly was very open minded at the time. I had no problem with it, but the real problem was when I found out that she had been bringing up cocaine, using it to seduce my coworkers who were married women and destroying marriages by that. And I ended up hearing about all that as well. And it was really pretty sad because the woman was from the Philippines and her husband was a white fellow, and we're in Barrow. We're in the North Slope, most northern village, city in all the world, I think. I think that's Barrow. And the sad thing was this woman from the Philippines was raving about how much she loved her husband. And I realized there's an overcompensation here. And then I found out from her husband that he had taken hair from the shower and had it tested, drug tested, found it positive for cocaine, and figured out that this older female social worker who moved right up in the state of Alaska, she moved right up. I had a friend who helped place me in work at the time. He was a social worker and he helped me land a job. I appreciate him quite a bit. I had gone to some classes with him. And then I had another fellow who was out of Ketchikan who helped me as well. And I don't know what to say. Russ was a little bit of a hard ass. He was a small guy, wiry guy. He grew up in Ketchikan, which meant he had to defend himself pretty regularly. That's the land of the sawmills, and it's a pretty tough place. And between the two of those fellows, and I think perhaps their wives were involved in this, they tracked that female that was higher up the chain of command to see where she would go and what would happen, and they promoted her all the way up in the state positions. It just shows you that doing evil pays, that they promote themselves. So that was just a part of my life I didn't plan on talking about. What I wanted to tell you is that I believe we are living in the land of bitter waters. And this attack, that's what it is. That's what we need to regard as, this chemical attack by the Biden administration on the population in eastern Ohio and that entire watershed is a major attack. They made the worst decisions possible on that. They handled it in the worst way possible, and they have toxicified. It's not a word, mind you, but they have poisoned the land. It's going to be poisoned for a long time. Apparently, dioxins don't break down. They don't have a half-life like radiation does. It's more dangerous than radiation. And so they've succeeded in poisoning a tremendous number of, well, the wildlife, the birds. A lot of them are dead already, and they've killed humans, and they will hide it. Their medical system will hide it. They will not diagnose it openly. In case you're wondering, one of the finest examples of that was Gulf War syndrome, and they actually did the bombing of Oklahoma City to destroy the records of 480,000 Gulf War veterans. They destroyed their medical records in that bombing and thereby averted the claim of the government and ultimately the industry being required to pay the men and their families for damages from Gulf War syndrome. And you need to understand, we supposedly didn't have any casualties during that war. We fought that without losing. We were so good and so great. Man, we pulled out some weapons that the public still doesn't even know about. We used some absolutely horrid weapons in that war. I've heard from the young men who were over there fighting, and they described these things to me. And believe me, you talk about space weapons, you talk about advanced technologies. These folks take your molecules right out of time and space, and they bring you back together in a different configuration, and it's an agonizing death. They used that on the highway to hell to Baghdad. And they used the other weapons out of the John F. Kennedy School of Advanced Warfare. There was a sniper team come out of there that neutralized an entire Iraqi brigade. 2 men, a spotter and a shooter. That was it. Flew in, handed the glasses to the rest of the crew, saying, "You tell your men, put these on and don't take them off till I say so." And he went out there with his laser weapon and he blinded the entire Iraqi brigade, and they were a small, tiny company facing it. They use their weapons on the public here. They test a lot of them here first. They test a lot of them in Alaska first. They test things on the outskirts and bring it into the mainstream. You need to realize this is not your government. This is the beast system that took over the United States. They took over America. They've been after us since our inception. 1813 was when they really screwed us up, and it took a turn for the worse, and that gave us one of the worst presidents ever. And of course, they gave us the Civil War because they wanted to divide us up. They wanted to subjugate us. Yes, those navies were off the coast, in the oceans, ready to invade us and split us up at any time. And the Tsar of Russia stepped in and saved our asses. And you people want to go after the Russians and the White Russians in Belarus. Do you realize what you owe those people? Yes, they started this battle for us in self-defense a long time ago, in about 1100 AD. They're the ones that kicked the Khazarians out of Khazaria. They destroyed ancient Khazaria about 1100 AD. The sad thing is, those people went off westward. They went next door into Poland, into Lithuania, and throughout Europe and the world. And that's who you're dealing with today, because they now rule and run America. They've taken you over completely. Don't kid yourselves. This isn't your government. They don't have your best interest in heart. They are going to take you down. Why? It's their job. It's what they were created for. Who do you think is in charge of all of this? The same Yahweh. He gave them a task. It was to sift us, to make sure we were going to be honest, honorable, loyal to Him, that we would love Him, worship Him. And so, you downgraded yourself. You decided you wanted to have men rule over you. And now you have people that hate us ruling over us here. You think they don't hate us? Go look at George Soros. Go look at Bill Gates. Go look at the Schiff family. Go look at the Bush family. You need to listen carefully to what these people have said in the past. They reveal who they are. They reveal what they are about. They tell you what their intentions are. You just need to listen to a man and he will tell you. I am your canary in a coal mine. I am your early warning system. I have run the horse to give the warning as best I could, trying to save my nation, but I don't think you guys deserve being saved at this point. You won't wake up. You won't do right. You won't choose right. I can't make you change. I can't do it for you. And by the way, one of the biggest lies in this country is all men are equal. Well, if it's equal before the law, that's not even true. You've got a class of people that can break the laws with impunity and do whatever they want. They never get charged. And they've expanded their legions. So now you can't charge any of their, I don't know what to call them, acolytes, their minions. You need to wake up and realize that all of this was foretold in the Bible. The dragon spewed out a flood to destroy the woman and her child. A flood. A flood that's people. Flood represents people. And what was it? A red flood? And what was George Washington's dream about? Red clouds rising off every continent around the planet? The red clouds drifting over North America and descending here on the ground? And we would fight another civil war? Yeah, that's what his dream was. In part of his visions, he had a black cloud that rose up over Africa, came over here, dropped down to the ground. Now, I don't trust the visions because they were recorded years after his death. It could have been planted there by the evil ones. Then again, it could have been just straight ahead, and George Washington might have really had these visions. But George Washington made some serious mistakes. He loved a particular group in Rhode Island and welcomed them. It was that group and their harbor there in Providence. That's where they harbored their slave ships. George Washington's biggest mistake was tolerating that group that brought the slaves here. They operated out of Providence, Rhode Island. Folks, they've been running game on us for a long time. They're going to keep running game on you until you sit on your ass and read the Bible for yourself. I can't do it for you. You have to read it for yourself. The Bible will speak to you. The Holy Spirit will move in you. You'll become alive, awakened. You'll become aware of the danger that surrounds you. And the sad thing is that when you see how much there is, it's going to rattle you pretty badly. You see, there was a man. He was the one that gave us this police state. He had his position across 8 presidencies, more than 8 terms, because a lot of them served, well, one of them served damn near 4 terms. This fellow started your police state, and he said that there is a conspiracy so large, the average man will not accept it. Even if he's told about it, he won't believe it. It's too big for him to be able to comprehend. In other words, it was bigger than what J. Edgar Hoover could comprehend. And as you could imagine, he knew the secrets. He knew all the oddities of these congressmen and senators, all these political types. He had dossiers on all of them. He was blackmailing and controlling them all for his masters. He brought you your police state. They started that organization that became known as the FBI in 1913. 100 years earlier, in 1813, they sat the Bar Association members, the attorneys, who were already officers of the judicial branch of government. They sat them in the legislative branch, thereby ensuring our destruction. Over time, it took a while, but they have destroyed us. And we need that separation of powers back again, which means you throw the attorneys out of the other 2 branches of government completely. Actually, it goes further than that. Anyone who is a member of the British Accreditation Regency, who operates administering this land for the King of England or Queen, they were stripped of any and all citizenship. It was not, as they call it, it was not against titles of nobility. It was about the separation of powers. You see, the rat-ass attorneys got us in the War of 1812, and we ratified the original 13th Amendment. And we know that for a fact because the state of New Hampshire, who nobody realized it, adopted it, and it was written up in the Constitution and found about a decade ago when they were cleaning out Concord, New Hampshire, the state capital. And everybody thought it hinged upon Virginia. And where were the handwritten notes from the state of Virginia? Where are they today? They're under lock and key in Great Britain. What are they doing? with the handwritten notes from the state of Virginia's legislative sessions back then. They've been running game on us the whole time. We've never been independent. As far as I can tell, they have controlled us through their secret societies and all that. Yeah, they've done a real good job. Your CIA, which originally was the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, was started by a fellow named, I want to say Stinson, but that's not right. Stevenson, I believe it was, who was a British subject, mind you. So you think the British are going to give you your intelligence agency free and clear, and they're not going to keep their dirty fingers into it, and they're not going to keep control of it? Oh, yes, they've kept control of it all right. Yes, the Founding Fathers made some mistakes. Ben Franklin made the biggest mistake of all, probably. They honeypotted him. They took him to the Hellfire Club. They made sure he had a good time. He was a womanizer. He was known as a womanizer. He chased the skirts. The women loved him, sadly. And he sold us into this slavery. He signed a treaty with Great Britain. And when he signed that treaty, we don't know if he knew what he was doing and was duped, or if he knew what he was doing and caused us this trouble. But he actually somehow incorporated us. He created a corporation called the United States of America, incorporated under the King of England, which is incorporated under the Vatican, under the Holy See at Rome, under the Antichrist organization. You see, there's only one corporation. And all these corporate boards are interlocking. They've got the same players in different corporate boards, and they control it all from the top down. Eustace Mullins wrote a book called The World Order. It's not called the New World Order for good reason. It's not new. It's the old world order. And your New World Order is nothing more than packaging and marketing to sell it to you. These evil people have been on the planet through several Earth ages. They've survived each time. And right now they're making arrangements to survive through the next transition to dominate. And they're going to rule this place like you would not believe. They've got it set up. And that's what the Ukraine is about setting it up and taking us down. It started off as a false flag where they were pretending to do battle. They were making false reports. This news system was giving you reports that weren't true. They were lies. They lied. So the tail has wagged the dog once again. That being your news media. And they've started this war over there. Now they've got a real war going on. And this war has got a propensity to grow some legs. And you dumbasses in the United States who think you're the biggest, the baddest, the greatest, and the strongest don't seem to understand that you are the beast system today. And this beast system has built how many labs on the border of Russia? How many biological weapons laboratories? Putin is right in this whole thing. And the rest of the planet knows it. Even the Chi-Coms have said they were going to lend him material aid. And what your ruling class has done is sold you out completely. You used to have an industrial base. Thereby you could fight a war if you had to fight a war. You can't fight a war anymore. You have no industrial base. It's been destroyed. It's been all dismantled and shipped over to Red China. You can thank Henry Kissinger. You can thank Bill Clinton. You can thank President Nixon for opening that up. These guys have been controlling the whole thing in the background the whole time, guiding us down a horrible road to ruin. And they can't wait for the nukes to fly. They really are evil. They really do want to destroy us. And it looks like we've earned the destruction. Why? How? We turned our backs on Yahweh. When we were founded, our founders read their Bibles. The Bible was the number one primer. That's how they learned how to read. They read the Bible. And then the evil ones realized, oh, they're Bible readers. We have to do something to take over that Bible of theirs and subvert them. So they did that. They took over the seminaries by about 1850. They produced a bunch of lying pastors who come out telling you nice, smooth things, good things that you want to hear. And then in 1917, they gave you the Schofield Reference Study Bible with the lies in the footnotes so they could pull off the biggest identity theft in history. Oh boy. And it's written at so many levels with so many traps in it that I don't want to say too much, except it's your job, it's your duty to read that and sort it out for yourself. There's so much in there, I can't do it for you. There are things in there just for you, not for me, that you have to discover. Yes, it does speak to us each differently. The Holy Spirit is activated in us by that. We program ourselves up with good stuff, and we are going to get good stuff out. But at this point, you have all of the evil that has been done before in the Old Testament being done right here in the United States of America, including the old passing the babies through the fire. And in case you're wondering, the Bible says pass through. That's not accurate. You see, the babies never made it through the fire. You know, when you hear pass through, it makes you sound like, oh, they just passed the babies through the fire. They do a little singe job on it, just march it on through. It don't hurt the baby. Gets a little suntan, maybe. No. They pass the baby through into the fire where it is consumed. They make that sacrifice to their God. That's who's ruling the planet today, because you are dumbasses and you sit on your ass. Don't worry, folks, I'm in the same group with you. I didn't read the Bible until I was much older. Not until Yahweh, until I met my destiny at about age 53 or so. I had a couple of strokes. I got my ass kicked, my clock cleaned. I could barely hold a conversation. And some of you can claim that I can't hold one today, too. That's all right. If you knew me before, you would know how much stronger I was. Anyway, I was hobbled and I was humbled. And since then, I've read the Bible a few times. I haven't read it enough. We have got a newer version, a better version. It is the King James Bible, but it's translated properly with the errors of Ptolemy II corrected. Now, did he commit absolute subterfuge, which is what I suspect, or was it just a simple mistake that he made in about 275 BC? My brothers and I are discussing that. We haven't figured it out yet. This 2015 Bible has not been around long enough for us. Yes, there's a link below. It's the only thing I have to sell you. It's all I'm representing at this point in time. There are 5 different formats of it available. Get yourself one. If you buy the top-of-the-line Bible, it's wonderful. It's probably less than half the price of your Schofield Reference Study Bible, and it is the Bible, whereas the Schofield Reference Study Bible has got an agenda in the footnotes, in the margins, and in the lies and deceit therein. Yes, it really is a fight between good and evil. It is another kind of a fight. And I know you think that, well, there's no angels, there's no devils. Oh yeah, not only that, they're in this dimension with us. That's the sad part. So if you look at a human being, you don't know if you're looking at somebody that's the equivalent of you, or an angel that's in their proper place, in proper service, or if it's a fallen angel, or it's a mix of those. And then you've got all these other species as well, and those are mixed up as well. We've mixed up everything here. And you have different overlays of all of it. If you want something to study, study the migrations of peoples. It will unlock a richness for you like you won't believe, especially around the Pacific, because those people that traverse that ocean, they've got some stories to tell. And there's a union and a unity that is so vast. It spans thousands of miles across those oceans. And there are important tips there. There's some important people for us to meet out there. It's going to astound you. I love it in New Zealand, but the problem in New Zealand is they got the beast system down there too that's taking them over. And they do their best to bury the past. And they will tell them, well, the original red-headed people that came here aren't here anymore. And the crazy thing is they're telling that to the red-headed descendants right there in front of them. I mean, as one of the old women said who knows her roots, an older elder down there said, she says, I'm here. I'm right in front of you. You know, look at my hair, look at my eyes. She's got green eyes and red hair. And she looks a little different. Yeah, but she's definitely a descendant of the people they claim that disappeared. And some of your Native Americans, they got some Israelite blood in them back from when Solomon abandoned them here at the mines. Yeah, when those ships of Tarshish were destroyed and they could no longer go out in the ocean, everybody that was here in the New World, in the wilderness, was stranded here. So what did they do? They carried on about their lives. Yeah, they were up and down the Mississippi River. They were mining gold and copper in the Great Lakes. And the supposed Native Americans, these indigenous peoples, the funny thing is they weren't here first. We dug up the bones in South America proving that. And the problem is those bones are dated so far back that it throws off everything. I mean, it throws everything off. So you youngsters who really want to dig up the truth, who want to write history properly, you've got a job in front of you. By the way, those bones were 25,000 years old. And they did a reconstruction on the skeleton to see what they looked like, and I laughed my ass off when I saw it. They put this, I think it was in either Time or Newsweek magazine. It looked like Jean-Luc Picard of Star Wars. He was bald, and their facsimile, their clay model was bald in the reconstruction now. Who knows? Who knows, huh? So you're dealing with a government that's not your own. All of the governments that are in operation right now in North America are corporate governments, all controlled, all registered for profit, all run in wicked ways for profit and money. They make a lot of money dealing in men's souls. How do they do that? Well, your federal government reimburses the states more money than what it costs them to incarcerate a man or a woman for a day. So they make a profit off that misery. And they're motivated to keep people in their prison system, which is why we incarcerate more people than anywhere else on the face of the earth. And you think you're the land of the free, home of the brave. And in case you're wondering, they took us over in about 1964. Lyndon Baines Johnson had just killed his own president, got away with it. They took prayer out of the schools, 1964. Oh, well. We had a spike in criminality because of that. Oh, yes. The other thing is that they changed the plea system from a common law plea under which a man had constitutional rights to accepting only statutory pleas. And the sad thing is that the attorneys, the judges, the prosecuting attorneys, later when they retire, find out about the truth about what they've been practicing, and they're all taken back. You want to know why? Because they realize that they've committed crimes in every one of their prosecutions by following this non-constitutional, non-common law court stuff, procedures. No, folks, the whole country's captured, in place. Admiralty law, interstate commercial code, uniform commercial code. I mean, it is horrible. And that little 10 square miles in D.C. has exceeded its jurisdiction considerably. And until you wake up, which is probably going to happen sometime this summer, until you wake up and take proper action. And by the way, I don't think you're going to take proper action. I think you're just going to see a lot of mob activity. I think you're going to see the rising of the mob, and the mob going into political offices and into political gatherings and taking people out who are in office and disposing of them, to be quite candid with you. I don't advocate that. I advocate that you just form organic governments, put people in proper office, and ignore those corporate governments and let them go by the wayside. That would be the more honorable thing to do. That would be the more peaceful resolution to it. The problem is you've got a bunch of police out there who think that they're doing law, justice, and they don't even know what the hell they're doing. If you think the attorneys and judges don't know what they're doing, then what do you think about the police? They don't know what the hell they're up to either. And you have all kinds of military operations inside this country that are illegal as hell. These special forces guys are sent on particular missions, and they kill people inside. They kill our politicians occasionally. They're assigned, they'll see this subject to such and such. Take them out, and they do it. And then they read in the newspapers who they killed. Some politician. And they're taken back because they realize they committed murder. And they can't tell anybody about it because they did it as a part of their orders. And those men become very upset when they find out how they've been misused and what crimes they've done, and they keep their mouths shut, lest they be killed themselves. Well, brave new world. You have to be brave to get up in it and try to operate in it and try to navigate it. You need the Holy Spirit to guide you so you know which choice to make, which choice you have in front of you, so that you can avoid problems, avoid an early death, avoid being poisoned. Anyway, bitter waters could also refer to the emotions of this nation, because you don't have control anymore. You're not in charge. Your vote doesn't matter. They put into office, they actually put the candidates forward that work for them. So it doesn't matter who you vote for, you're getting one of the bad guys. Controlled, handled, working for the beast system. If you read your Bibles, you might be able to identify the problems, and you might be able to withdraw from it. Yahweh might step in and fight for you. That's the biggest problem that they face, is they know once you turn to Yahweh, Yahweh's going to go after them with a vengeance. I say let Yahweh fight them. I say let Yahweh do his will. The problem is that we need to hand ourselves over to the law of nature, to the laws of Creator Father. We need to choose the good instead of the bad. So right now, America, it's pretty much over. We don't call ourselves Americans, do we? We're citizens of the United States of America. Citizens of the United States of America did not exist until after the Civil War. Before then, we were considered citizens of our individual states. Yeah, the citizen from Kentucky, the citizen from Tennessee, the citizen from Massachusetts. All of those men in the Alamo were citizens from other states. We need to go back to being landed citizens and take ourselves out of admiralty law, out of their maritime law, out of their horrible courts, which offer no justice at all. We need our militias, first and foremost. I was wondering which of the three branches of government was the most powerful, and then it dawned on me. The most powerful branch of government was just barely mentioned in the Constitution, the militia. militias were formed at a state level. Some of the militias were private because the men were separated from the rest of the state. The militias were the muscle. The militias were the enforcers. It was we the people. That's how we had our self-rule. And if you read the Constitution, you will see 2 tasks specific to the militias. Number 1, quell insurrections. Number 2, defend the borders. This central government's not doing either one of those. This central government is putting on and sponsoring the insurrections. And they're putting on and sponsoring the invasion at the borders, especially under this administration. Yeah, Trump was a little bit better, but he had his problems too. They both worship that little postage stamp of a country called Israel. That is not Israel. You should be really calling it Rothschild land. Or Khazaria too. That is populated by the Khazarians. And by the way, where was Khazaria? The Ukraine was just part of Khazaria. It was the biggest country at the time of its existence. And so they are fighting under the ancient Khazarian emblem in the Ukraine. It's on their flag. You know that blue and yellow flag? Look at the design on that. And then go look up the banner under which Khazaria went to war. And you will see it's almost the same exact symbol. And then go look at the unit patches on those private brigades, like the Azimov Brigade, these supposedly paramilitary organizations. And when you look at their unit patches, you'll see a little tiny patch from ancient Khazaria on it. Yeah. And where does that symbol come from? Well, if you go look up the symbol for Molech and for Baal, your Old Testament evil gods, it's about the same symbol. Yeah, it's the same stuff. Your nation was taken over by the evil ones. They had a ceremony celebrating that on July 3rd, 1933, and it went over so well that they repeated the ceremony 3 days later on a Thursday. They had 55,000 participate in the second ceremony. People loved it. The first ceremony, it was somewhere on the order of 150,000. And there is a video of that on YouTube. Go to my blog, Giving Psychology Away. It probably hasn't been scrubbed yet as far as the video goes. It's a Getty copyrighted image. And there's all kinds of sites that present that video and give their lame-ass excuses as to why they did that ceremony on our soil. And if you look at it, you will realize that these people are telling you their identity. They aren't Israelites. They're Canaanites. They're the people that Yahweh ordered Joshua, in many cases, to destroy. Did Joshua do his job? Did Joshua do his duty? Go read that Bible. My name is Dr. John Taylor Kent. I used to practice psychology. Psychology means the study of the soul. And this is Giving Psychology Away. Should be number 133, if my memory's serving me well these days. Get out, buy that Bible, and above all, read it. Get the large print one, put it on your coffee table. Make it a centerpiece. Maybe you'll have some nice talks about it and what it means. Forget about your big box churches. Those are all controlled by the evil one. They used religion, education, and above all, government to destroy us. Those are the 3 evil demons that came out of the beast's mouth in Revelations. They all are there to control your thinking, control your mind. Free yourselves. Do your part in it, though. You can't, if you don't do that, then you're not going to get free. Read the Bible just for the history, just for the stories. Don't worry about the religious aspects of it. Just learn the plot. Learn the names of the characters. Study the character development. Look at what they did. Look at what they caused. And look at how to correct things. Study the good. Don't major in evil. Learn the good. Choose the good. It doesn't mean laying down and dying. It doesn't mean anything but submitting to Creator Father Yahweh. I don't think that's so bad. You can leave your comments down there below. It's nice to get those. I feel a little bit neglected. I do have over 200 subscribers to this channel. The other one I have just crossed 100. They sent me a notice. It's the second time I've crossed 100 subscribers on Awakening Israel. That's the biblical channel. The problem is that, you see, you can't separate. You can't separate anything from anything else. The reality is there. The peoples of the earth all have a part in this. You can't pull one out in particular and ignore the rest. We have an obligation to these other peoples on the earth. If you're listening to me, then obviously you know who you are. You know what you are. And you know who the bad guys are. And you also know that the average person on the planet isn't really involved in that. They are being thrown at us. But that doesn't mean we lay down for them. It means we defend ourselves. And we are going to have to defend ourselves. This invasion is full bore. They're about at half the strength they want to be at. Maybe slightly more. I think they're over 50 million right now. They want to hit 100 million, and then they figure we can't handle them. You better buy lots of ammunition. You're going to need it. You better get some energy sources, water filtration methods. You're going to need it. You better form up in small groups. You're going to need each other. You really are. They are coming for us. Our own government is bringing them in. This is an invasion of massive proportions. It was foretold. It's in the Bible. George Washington's visions. Believe what you want, folks. But until you spend time in the old text, you're not going to understand anything. May Yahweh bless you. May you bless Yahweh. Let's make America good again.